Hi, and welcome back to Full Bloom Block of the Month, and this is block number 5. Block number 5 is actually the same as block number 1, which I'm sure you already have realized. It's just a different color. So for this block, we're going to use purples, and let's take a look at those fabrics now. All right, so these purple fabrics are what would be given to you if you're following along through a shop. This is the fabric that you would have gotten this month. And these are the fabrics that you've saved from previous months. So this pink is from, you originally got this in block number 1. This light purple was from block number 2. And this fabric was introduced in block number 4. So let's get to the cutting. So here we have all of our pieces cut. Here's our 1.5 by 36 inch strip that we'll use for the inner border. Our 6 8.5 by 8.5 inch squares, which are the background of the small flowers. And this month we needed to do 7 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares. And our 17 by 17 inch background. Okay, so get your tracing and trace out all of the pattern pieces onto your freezer paper. So here's our tracing paper of the shape for the big block, the big flower, left over from block number 1. And a new tracing of all the components that make up that large flower. I find it really difficult to reuse pieces because when you cut this out of the fabric, you cut right on the line. So reusing these pieces I find very difficult because you have to cut so precisely next to the edge of the paper when you reuse it that I just retrace everything. So that's the flower and all its pieces. And these are the components that we're going to need for the small flowers. Okay, let's get them ironed onto our fabrics. So here's the large flower, purple fabric. We have the large flower freezer paper shape, and then the 2 small flowers that we need from this for this month. This fabric will be used again in block number 8. And we have this dark purple being introduced this month. So I cut my 1.5 by 18 inch strip. And because this fabric will be used again in blocks 6 and 7, I kept everything off to the side. Here's the shadow pieces. And here are the components for the small flowers. This was left over from block number 2, and it will be used again in block number 6. So I wanted to leave myself enough space, and all the shadow or highlight pieces fit very nicely up on this upper corner of this piece that I left. So I'll have plenty to do block number 6 for that. And then the center. So this center piece, this yellow, will be used again in block number 6. So I left a nice large section because I'm not sure really what that's going to be used for. I am actually making this quilt along with you, so I don't look ahead too much. But there's my center 1 piece, and then my center 2 piece, again from a fabric that was left over from block number 1, and this will be used again in block number 8. So there's my center 2. Okay, so let's get these cut out. Remember to cut on the line, and we'll get this block assembled. So let's move on to our block assembly. As with every large flower and the small flowers, we start by putting the stabilizer on the back of the background. Layer the tracing paper on top, and then start to put the pieces underneath. So here's the large flower set and ready to go. So this is going to be glued and stitched, and then we'll do the next piece. So after stitching the large flower piece, we pressed the block, layered it with the tracing paper, and now I'm adding the highlights and shadows. I will glue these all down, remove the freezer paper, and stitch them up. So lastly, we added center number 1. We stitched it, pressed it, then layered on center number 2, stitch that, press the whole block, square it up, and block 5 is done. Well, there you have it. That's block number 5. Check back soon on a video all about the small flower blocks, the ones that make up the border, and they're scattered throughout the center. So we're going to do a video just on assembling those and what we had in mind when we were putting this quilt together. We talked about it in the video for block number 4, but this will be a video of the assembly of those little blocks and just what we were thinking when we did it. All right, so see you back here soon. Block number 6 coming up.